Well, we'll start this report with a little bit about Phil Snyder. Phil Snyder, a geologist, an engineer, was building the DUMBs, that's Deep Underground Military Bases for the United States government. They were spending trillions of dollars, black money, and he survived an alien battle back in 1979 in the Dulce base. There was 55 US and NATO Delta Force soldiers were killed on that event. Now you've got the story there on the screen if you could read it, and we'll go further now with exactly what Phil Snyder gave to the world. He was assassinated by the ruling elite, and he was found many days after he died with a catheter tied around his neck for giving us this vital information. They gave a report that it was suicide, but it wasn't suicide. Now you can go into the web and get a lot more information than what I can give you on this report, and I urge you to do that because there's many documentaries that were published by Phil Snyder. Now here's a little bit about Phil Snyder on chart 2. And he tells us that they have a laser tunnel machine that can cut 7 miles a day, 20 feet wide and 28 feet high. The DUMBs is 301. That's back at the time that this was taken. There's probably a lot more now. All over the United States. They're all linked underground by tunnels with what is called maglev trains. These trains can travel up to Mach 5. Now, that's equal to about 3,800 miles per hour. They travel from coast to coast in a little over 90 minutes, and that's a lot faster than any passenger jet can travel. There's plenty of DUMBs in Canada and Mexico, and they're ready to take prisoners, all set up and staffed. So when there's a state of emergency and martial law is declared, and that will be enforced, the DUMBs will be used to incarcerate people to use as slaves. But the sad thing about it is that the aged and the sick will be euthanized. They will be killed. Now, Phil Snyder, who is a geologist and an engineer building these underground military bases, and he tells us that they were spending trillions of black money, and he survived an alien battle. Now, Phil said that the US military, NATO, is 50 years advanced with technology than what is given to the world, given to the public. And this is the fallen angels Anakim hybrid technology that has been kept secret by the Illuminati, Masons, the Skull and Bones, the Fabians. All of this cartel have had this information for many, many years, and they want to keep it to themselves for their own purpose to rule the earth. So let's go a little bit further on what else that Phil gave to us. One of the issues that you've not been told about, this is their latest secret craft, secret propulsion, lightning speed. Now, Phil Snyder, as I said before, advanced stealth craft were made using alien metals, and Phil Snyder also said that there's over 35 elements that comes from the hand of the aliens, the fallen angels, that's not listed and is hidden from our schools and education system. Now, this picture that you're looking at on the screen was published on the 29th of January 2013, and it says there that over 5 million people have viewed it. Google it yourself. Another secret that's kept from the public by the Masons, the Illuminati, the secret societies cartel, who have the fallen angels, Genesis 6 secret technology. They've kept it to themselves. The Masons, Illuminati, secret society, cartel, they believe that they have the right to rule the world. And I've given this details to you in many reports. And they will be immortal. That's what they believe. They will be immortal and travel to the stars. They have all got this fallen giants. And if you remember, I showed you reports. There's not hundreds, there's not thousands, but there's millions of giants unearthed all over the world. And they were buried when there was a global flood. They won't tell you that there was a global flood because they want you to believe that there is no God. And the things that are written up in the book of Genesis in the Bible is fairyland stuff. It's fanciful, and they just don't want you to know that there was a lot of technology that they've kept secret from the whole earth, ready to use today. Now on your screen you can see that this secret stealth craft is leaving the hangar. And you can get this picture on the web and a lot more. There's something that you will realize when you go through this report with me, that you can understand why the secret elite, the secret societies, Masons and the Illuminati, why they wanted to keep everything a secret. Because if they think that they have the right to rule the earth, they are using this technology and they're keeping it a secret from you. Down the bottom there you can see that there's a secret craft leaving the hangar. The Masons, Illuminati, secret society, cartel have kept it all secret for their own use in NATO, the military, to rule the earth, and they're refusing to tell the public about it. But what does Yahweh, the living creator God, say? There it is there on your screen. Yahweh says, I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the land. I will shake and destroy all the wicked nations of this earth. That's in Haggai chapter 2. So you see, they're going to get a rude shock down the line at the end of days, because that is a promise by the very God that they tell the world doesn't exist. Now on your screen, you've got the cover of a book there by Whitley Traver, and that is another book that you can buy to get more information about the technology that has been hidden from the public. In one of my reports, I gave to you that there is the Anakim, Nephilim, Anakim, fallen angels, the spirits that are roaming the earth this day, and the damage that they are causing to this earth that you don't know about. But they're there, and in this film and in this book, you'll see that there are so-called aliens. These are the result of the fallen angels out of Genesis chapter 6, which has been hidden from you, concealed from you by all church and religions. Now, this is a report by a lady called Sherry Schreiner, and you've got her website address there on the screen. I'll read a little bit to you in case you can't read it. There are two governments occupying the United States of America today. First, there is the traditional government established by our founding fathers, founded upon the Constitution and an elected government. And there is the fascist, the Bavarian, she calls them, Illuminati-backed, underground or shadow government, which is led by the corporate military industrial government, which is fighting against the traditional American government on its own soil. In other words, the two sectors are the Judeo-Christian based Constitutional Republic of America, and the Luciferian cult-based Socialist Empire of the Bavarian, the Illuminati, the Masons. Now, it's interesting to note there that you can see that she realizes about the secret society cartel being in charge of and ruling this earth behind all governments. She makes a note there that it's possible that from 1776 a gradual coup d'etat has been underway by this Illuminati secret societies to undermine, overpower, and take over the traditional form of government in America and establish a fascist Luciferian dictatorship working under the guise of the New World Order. And I gave you reports on this to explain to you that these people believe they have the right to rule, and this is how they're going about it. They feed down to the whip in each parliament and government the instructions of what they are to vote on, what they are to vote yes or no on. And when you elect government officials today, they're not doing what they think they should do for you. They are doing what they are told to do. And there's more info on this in chart 7. Now we're up to chart 7. Up the top there you can read with me. The Masons, Illuminati secret society cartel, they've taken control over our laws, our courts, and they keep it hidden from our schools, the education system. Google it, you'll get more information. Item 1. The government and legal system of the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and of course Britain is totally controlled by the Crown. The British monarch is not the Crown. So when you see in your documents that it's by the Crown is referring to a different section of the world. The ruling monarch is subordinate to the Crown Temple. That was an origin of the King John's in the 11th century of the Magna Carta. The Crown is the inner city of London. That's where the Crown is, which is an independent state in London, belonging to the Vatican, Illuminati, Mason system, and secret society cartel. This cartel has a massive system throughout the world where it hides its true power. The city is, in fact, the Knights Templar Church, also known as the Crown Temple or Crown Templar. All the bar associations are franchises of the Crown, and all licensed solicitors, barristers throughout the world pledge a solemn oath to this Crown Temple. The governments of the USA, Canada, Australia, and the West are subsidiaries of the Crown Temple, and so is the United States Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, as are all central reserve banks on the planet, and including the IMF, the New World Order World Bank, when all elected governments are converted to corporations and the four world unions begin. And I've given you a report that they have covertly, secretly, with lies and stealth, converted your elected government into a corporation with a business number. Item 2. This secret society cartel, its main goal is to control the earth by keeping all of it in its debt. In other words, they will make sure that they've got every government deeply in debt that they cannot repay. But many countries now are awake to this and have expelled the IMF and the global bankers, which, by the way, is also controlled by the CFR and the Trilateral Commission. When interest rates and inflation is all controlled by the Vatican and these secret societies, they print the fiat money, which is not worth the paper it's on. Now, when the time of trouble such as never before on this earth begins, and that is recorded in the Bible, in Jeremiah 30 and in Daniel chapter 12, the Yahweh, the living creator God, intervenes to destroy this mute abomination. And that is what this is all about. The mute abomination that is destroyed by the hand of God at the end of days. Now we're up to chart 8, and it's about controlling all the people, all the money, and all the food supply. Item 1. All treaties and agreements use two words for you to look out for. One is crown and state. All countries are referred to as a state, which is owned or under the control of the crown, which, as I've said before, that is the Vatican, the Secret Society cartel, Masons, Illuminati, etc. And you've got the details on the screen there. Item 2, they not only control all religions, and I've given you a thorough report on that, but also they control all the governments, and through NATO and the United Nations control all military, secret intelligence agencies, the World Health Organization, science, medical education, GM food, seed patents, and the HAARP and chemtrails are for the bogus man-made climate change, internet and media. And on the man-made climate change, realise that they kicked that off with Al Gore going around the world to tell us that there was a global warming. But they shot themselves in the foot because the world is actually in a global cooling. So they changed the global warming to being a climate change. Now, I put a note there in the green for you. Avoid using Twitter and Facebook, giving all of your personal and private information. That is under surveillance of this evil cartel. Item 3. Man-made climate change is used to control the weather, cause earthquakes, typhoons, cyclones, tsunamis, droughts, and floods. Thus, they can control the food supply, wipe out the food supply, the crops with floods and drought. Item 4. Global free trade, which is being heavily promoted by the leaders of the world today, that is the first step to gain total control of the earth, ready for the inception of the 4 unions which will take over all the countries. And I've given you reports that there will be no more elected governments, so to speak, but the 4 unions headed up by an appointed president which will take control over all the earth. So be aware of this so that you understand what we're in for. And it's not a matter of whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. It is a matter of what's happening, the truth, and how they have concealed it from you, and they've told you that God doesn't exist. That is a lie. And there is going to be a rude awakening to these people who think they can rule the earth. Now we're up to chart 9, and the heading is Secret Societies are foretelling what they're going to do in this Earth's future. And at the Denver airport, there is a lot of murals for you to look at. But it's interesting to note that the wording on these murals, on the left-hand side there, if you can't read, I'll read a bit to you. They've got the Lord of Death brandishing an AK-47, killing the Dove of Peace. Don't forget, I gave you in my reports, the word Lord here is referring to Lucifer, and they regard Lucifer as the great architect of the nations, the great architect of the universe. In this picture, the grey waves pulse from the figure, and the waves pulse outward, killing everybody in its path. The figure wears a gas mask, implying that the grey waves are the instrument of death. In this case, of course, it's biological weapons. On the right-hand side there, I've got a note for you. They have buried a time capsule for 2094. So they think they've got about another 80 years to go. And it's been put up, orchestrated by the Masons, by a Grand Master, Grand Lodge of the AF and AM Colorado, Benjamin H. Bell, Jr., as it seems there, is a Zionist member. Down the bottom of this picture, you've got the source there to go into the web and get a lot more information about what they say is the future of this earth and how they are going to will such a terrible, terrible thing. Now on your screen, you've got a picture of how they are building FEMA camps globally. Here's a picture of the detention camp which is built in Australia, and there's many more that are being built in Australia, and of course there's many FEMA camps for detention of people all over America. And if you go into the web, you will get a lot of information about how they have got these detention camps built everywhere. Now, a lot of people have debunked this as being what it is. And there's one thing that they have not been able to realise. I took a member of parliament, a friend of mine, out to inspect this. And there we saw that there was prison grade, prison standard, double layer steel razor wire and cameras every 10 metres. And 8mm heavy gauge reinforced steel mesh on all the walls. And of course, whereas these people who debunk that these are not detention camps cannot answer why they are using material that is only used for prisons. If they wanted to say that this is only a railway area to prevent hoodlums from going in there and with graffiti, that has never been before protected by anything else but just some ordinary wire, some ordinary barbed wire. Now they're getting ready for these detention camps all over the world, all over America and the Gold Coast, to round up people. And you've got to ask the question, why? Why are they putting prison camps all over the world? Obviously, you must come to the answer that they're ready to round people up under what they will call military control. And you'll see more of that on this next film. Now we're up to final chart 11. Now, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, because they've done a good job at telling the world that God does not exist. But I'll put this up for you, so take a note of it yourself. And in Jeremiah, I'm going to read to you the words from the old book, words from the living creator God that was given to the prophets. Quote, I have heard what the prophets, pastors and rabbis have said, who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. How long will this be in the heart of the prophets who prophesy lies? Indeed, they are prophets, pastors and rabbis, of the deceit of their own heart, who try to make my people forget my name. And as you know, the Jews use Hashem, which means the Lord, or just Lord in the Christian Bibles, by their dreams which everyone tells his neighbour, as their fathers forgot my name for Baal. And that has been transferred over into the Jesus and the Mary dogma today. And you've got a good report on that. Do not listen to the words of the prophets, the pastors and the rabbis, who prophesy and preach to you. They make you worthless. They speak a vision of their own heart, not from the mouth of Yahweh, the living creator God. They continually say to those who despise me, Yahweh has said, you shall have peace. Now the name of Yahweh, of course, as I gave you in my reports, has been removed 7,000 times in the Bibles and replaced with Lord. Now that's led the people to believe that the word Lord is also referring to Jesus. That is a lie. Now the secret societies tell the world that God does not exist and creation is replaced by evolution and junk science. And I've given you some reports on how to realize that they have lied to you. Yahweh says, I will shake the heavens, the land, and the sea, and all the nations will be destroyed by my day of vengeance, my judgment day. And you've got to note there that if you go into YouTube and see the Gog and Magog war solved, the secret society cartel will be referred to as the mute abomination in the Bible, which Yahweh intervenes and destroys at the end of day. Now that's the end of this report, but I've given you a lot of reports and there's some of them on the screen now for you to go in and check it out yourself.